Sometimes, exploring means following in the footsteps of those who came before. I'm author and researcher Mike Luoma. In well-trodden Massachusetts, I'm often experiencing stone sites, seen and reported on at least a few times in the past. Possible Native American stonework has been reported before at Beautiful Gates Pond in Hudson. Preliminary research had even provided a map of the pond and surrounding area, with possible stonework circled, posted by Peter Waksman on his Rock Piles blog. Hoping to preserve some of the joy of discovery for myself, I didn't dive into the old blog posts, but did memorize the map before making my way there on a recent sunny Sunday winter's morning. Walking around the pond counterclockwise, I spotted this old stone row in the woods to the north on my right, and decided to follow it. The old stone row occasionally breaks and sometimes disappears entirely beneath the leaf cover as it runs along the hillside, parallel to the wetland. This break looks intentional, with the quartz rock perched on top. The row zigs and zags its way along the wetland. It appears to be an ancient indigenous row of stones, with possible effigies throughout its curvy length. I've since gone back to the Rock Piles blog and don't believe they found this stone row 10 years ago. There was a drought here this past year. Close as this row is to the edge of the wetland now, it may be in the swamp some years. This first long stretch of winding stone row comes to a rather dramatic end. The row rises up with a big wing boulder. Then turns sharply towards the water and ends with a serpent-like effigy head. Do you suppose the stone in the middle once stuck out? Like a tongue? It looks broken off now. Behind the bend in the stone row and the head lay these two linked boulders, tied together by a short stone row, like a horn or a wing of the serpent. There seems to be a rock platform next to the joined boulders, beneath the leaf cover, with stones too big and wide to be stairs, obviously man-made. Maybe a watercourse or waterfall of some kind. After this, the stone row rises back up, and again runs along the hillside along the wetland. You can see many pictures of this part of the row in my Facebook group, Ancient Stone Mysteries of New England, at facebook.com/groups/Ancient Stone Mysteries. There were boulders and stones scattered across the hillside above the stone row, but not so many between the stone row and the wetland. As the wetland began to dry up and end, however, this stone pile appeared below the wall, large stones on a boulder or bedrock. Though too tumbled down to say what it was with any certainty, it could be a prayer seat, a line to look down the wetland to the pond to the south. With the rock piles map in mind, I went up the hill in search of more stonework, but was saddened to see a cell tower instead. Walking back towards the pond, near the top of the hill, brought me to this stone pile, with a hollow, boulders, and a curious split rock next to it. I've read a lot about stone piles like this one on the Rock Piles blog over the years. For a long time, it was one of the few sites that would come up when you searched the internet for info on stoneworks. I may have first learned about ceremonial stone landscapes on rock piles. You'll find it at rockpiles.blogspot.com. I've recently come across quite a few mentions of rock piles and Peter Waksman in Professor Curtis Hoffman's Stone Prayers. Waksman provided many site reports. I headed back towards the pond. Because I'd gone north away from the pond, I hadn't made it very far around the pond. And before I got much further, a north-south stone row running up and down hill drew my attention. A row of boulders seemed to line the edge of the hilltop, remnants of a big stone row or maybe what's left of an old retaining wall for the orchard above. The stone row flows up out of a stone platform or mound built into the boulder row. The stone row seemed to mark a property line, likely still does, as a fence runs along much of its length. Though that use might make it more likely a colonial construct, the effigy work built into the stone row all along its length argues for greater age, and indicates this is likely an older stone row repurposed for later colonial use. Once again, if you'd like to linger on pictures of parts of this stone row, please head to my Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/ancient stone mysteries for more photos. Though interrupted by the pond road, the stone row rises again and runs down to the water's edge. Couldn't tell if it kept going underwater. The stone row's connection to the pond is another indication it could be Native American. Indigenous stone rows often run right down into bodies of water. I've barely scratched the surface of the stoneworks there at Gates Pond, but I was almost out of power and it was time to go. I hope to make a return trip soon. I'm author and researcher Mike Luoma. Thank you again for experiencing these stones at Gates Pond with me.